Hi everybody, John here again. This is going to be my entry to Jimmy the Saint's 100 subs contest. I've just recently learned that he's not actually called Jimmy, and that apparently is a reference to a Bruce Springsteen song. I don't know much about Bruce Springsteen, I didn't know that, went completely over my head, although he may have spoken about it before. It's actually called Darren, and I understand he goes by Daz. Don't know if I could bring myself to use Daz. Yeah. Anyway, Darren, you asked 4 questions, and the first one was to show the first album that we acquired, or our oldest record. I'm going to show you this. This is the actual first record I ever got. It was a gift when I was 13 from my older sister. So yeah, this was essentially the beginning of my record collecting. I've said, I think more than once, that essentially every record I've bought since then is an attempt to try and recapture the thrill and the amazing sense of joy that I got from getting this and getting into it. I remember at the time David Bowie had just released Blue Jean, and the single, and I was sort of interested in getting that, and I think maybe the album hadn't been released, and my sister got me this instead, and it was brilliant, really, really good. I've never looked back. David Bowie is one of my all-time heroes. So yeah, there you go. And that's my first album. The next question was about saving a record, or if I was going to save one record out of all my collection. If there was a catastrophe, which one would it be and why? Now, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, another VC guy asked that question as his main question in his subscribers contest. There's a guy called Dean who lives up in Wakefield. He doesn't make many videos these days, but he used to be fairly regular, and he asked exactly that same question, so I made a response video to that. I'll put a link below so you can go and check, and I'll just quickly summarize what I said in that. This is the record that I would save out of all of my records in the event of a catastrophe. So it's a Who record. I picked this up in California. I lived there for a few years, and it confused me. I picked it up in a sort of a garage sale, as they have there. It's a bit like our concept of car boot sales, but rather than be in one place, people sort of have them in their yard, or their driveway, or their garage or something, and you go and drive around looking at people's different garage sales that they have. I picked up loads of records that way, but this one in particular was an amazing thing, and I couldn't find it, and I thought, well, that's an unusual Who album. Never seen it before. It's a double album, it's live, and yeah, I couldn't find any information about it on the internet. So what I did do is I found the name of an organisation called the Who Information Centre. Yes, there's even a centre that gives information about the Who. And I wrote to them, and I described the record and said how I'd come by it, and I gave them a written description of how, all the text on it, what the track listing is, that sort of stuff, and asked them if they could give you any information about this record. And the reply from the man that works at the Who Information Centre, he wrote, "Hello John, congratulations, you've discovered a really rare bootleg." Anyway, he goes on to tell me a little bit about it. It was recorded from 1974, concert in San Francisco, and he speaks a lot more, but midway in the letter, he basically leaves the door open and suggests that he couldn't tell me more about this because he didn't have it, and he just sort of does it in such a way that suggests if I'd be interested in selling it, he'd be quite happy to buy it from me. Yeah, he sort of describes it as being very rare and very sought after. So if I was going to lose all of my records in a fire or a flood, this would be the one I'd run in and grab. Not because necessarily it's my favourite record or anything like that. It's a bootleg and it's quite poor sound. But I know that there are, you know, serious record collectors, collectors of the Who, that would bend over backwards to get their hands on this, and I could most likely sell it for enough to restart collecting my records anew. So that was my reasoning. So yeah, that's the record that I would show you for my second question. Record that we can tell a story about. Okay, in my last video, I just uploaded a video just recently about black music, and one of the records I showed on that is by a band called Slave. It's pretty poor condition, the cover and everything. The record's fine. It's downstairs, I don't have it to hand, so I'll put a little picture of it here so you see what I mean. Now, that record, the very first track on it is a track called Slide, and when you put it on and play it, the first few bars of the song, sort of instrumental run up to it, it's got somebody honking on a bicycle horn, goes like that. I was playing that on my record player, and my youngest son asked me, "What's that noise in there? What's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's a hooter." He said, "Why is that there?" And I said, "Well, on that day when this band were going to go into the studio and make this record, one of the band members' children was sick home from school, and I said, so that little child had to go into work with his dad that day, and he was driving around the studio on his tricycle, pressing his hooter." And my son looked at me and he listened. "Oh, that must have been really annoying." I thought that was hilarious. I mean, he took everything I said completely seriously, and yeah, right, it would have been annoying. That's not really what happened, is it? But in my son's imagination, after me saying that, he gets to see this little toddler cycling around going in a recording studio when they're trying to make music. So that's a little story to a particular record. Hope that's suffice. Last question was, show a record or your most recent purchase of a record. I've got a few that I've picked up recently, but this really is absolutely the newest record that I've got. So this is the latest release by the Lilac Time. I've been waiting for this. I ordered this about 3 months ago when it sort of came up advertised on Amazon. So it hadn't been released yet, but you could pre-order it. And I don't buy many brand new records, but I had some money left over from my dad, mum and dad, that sent me some money for my birthday in August. And I thought, well, I know, I'll use the last £20 of that on this record, because I really do want it, and I did want to get it. And these new records, they have a habit of, once they've been released, if they're sort of any good, the value of them goes up a lot. I mean, I don't buy it as an investment, it's just I don't want to have to pay double the amount next month, you know, when the initial release has gone over. So yeah, this is the Lilac Time. I'm a huge fan of the Lilac Time, and they are one of my favourite bands. And if you don't know who they are, the main singer is a guy called Stephen Duffy. He used to be in Duran Duran before Duran Duran sort of became famous. So he had a hand in writing Girls on Film, I think. And he had a sort of a short solo career, and then sometime, I think in the 90s, he started a band called the Lilac Time together with his brother, a guy called Nick Duffy, who's a really good, really amazing instrumentalist. And there's a woman, I believe she was there from the beginning, called, I'll tell you what her name was, somewhere. Her name is Claire. She, from the beginning, I don't think she was married to Stephen Duffy, but she is now. And then there was some other, I think a bass player or something, but he's no longer in the band. So now it's just Stephen Duffy, his wife Claire Duffy, and his brother Nick Duffy. So this, I believe, is their 10th album. Really good. Come out, it just released last week, and it came to me within days of it being released, because I'd pre-ordered it and paid for it before. So really, really happy to get this. Such a great record. I'm going to talk more about this, no doubt, on the VC in the coming weeks. But anyway, so that's my answer to your questions and my entry to your contest. Thanks very much, everybody, for listening. Darren, good luck. Won't be long before you're at 200. Thanks very much. Check out my next video. Bye.